started the season, I was asking Minnesotans what they thought this season was going to amount to, if we're going to do anything great, if we're going to get back to the heights that we did. And everybody looked me in the eye and said, we got rid of Cat, and it was great while it lasted, but I think that's all she wrote for us Minnesota Timberwolves. But no. We are back. We are back to the promised land. You know the last time we went to the back-to-back Western Conference Finals? I think never. I think never, honestly. As you are watching, we are down 2-1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about this run that we've been on in totality. We will mention the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that's coming soon. That's coming soon. All right, let's start this off with. Oh, one of my main things about the playoffs that I've learned, I feel like it's a chance for us to go back and understand our weaknesses and have it truly tested to be able to reach the golden promised land of the NBA Finals, holding up that Larry O'Brien. And I feel like we have grown so much as a team. Let's start this off with, we were a sixth seed. We were a 6th seed and we were a 6th seed and we're already back in the Western Conference Finals. And it's not even like our chances were high. We have went through the cast iron to get to the point where we're at right now. And it always feels so vindicating when you're able to beat greats on the way there, right? So we have a couple things to talk about first. Let's start off with our main guy, Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards has grown since the last time he was the Western Conference Finals, just a calendar year ago, right? One of his main deficiencies was the fact that he had a problem using his athleticism for the betterment of the team, right? That and alongside his inconsistent decision making, right? So when we look back to just a calendar year ago, when we were facing against the Denver Nuggets, I recognized the whole scheme that they were trying to run was, okay, let's force him to be a point guard and let's see how he reacts to that. And it was all right. We ended up winning the series, but that was more so off of sheer happenstance. I'll say it's more out of sheer happenstance that we were just able to overwhelm and overpower the Denver Nuggets with just the fact that we were just giants running around Nikola Jokic and just overwhelming him from all different angles, right? And then we move over to the Western Conference Finals last year where we faced off against the Dallas Mavericks and we just got absolutely completely twerked. We lost for a multitude of reasons, one of them being their guards. They were just playing like superstars. There's not much that we could have done with that. And they were also making our biggest Achilles heel. And then we go to the offseason. We trade Karl-Anthony Towns for Julius Randle so we'd be able to have a more consistent scoring threat than what Cat was providing us, right? Julius Randle was known as an absolute shot chucker. He has pivoted the narrative around him in just a small calendar year. He turned into a guy that we could always count on to be aggressive, a guy that we could always count to give adequate perimeter help for a guy like Anthony Edwards. Because one of the things that we were recognizing the last playoff series, it always fell on his shoulders to try and create something. Even though we had a prolific scorer in Karl-Anthony Towns, a prolific shooter in Karl-Anthony Towns, it always still fell back on, we need someone to initiate this offense. And when he's getting double and triple teamed, it's kind of hard for him to do all that extra work, you feel me? But now we have a guy in Julius Randle. I noticed this immediately when we were facing off against the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James. So the Los Angeles Lakers, their whole game plan was surrounded around, we will have 2 offensive nuclear weapons and hope everybody else just locks in, hits a couple shots. You know what? Their plan was, we'll have 2 nuclear weapons and we might have an Austin Reeves that'll help us push it over the top because those 2 guys, Luka and LeBron, will both average a clean 32, 8, and 8. That was their game plan. Yes, that was their whole game plan. But we were able to not only punish their lack of size, we were able to exploit the defensive weaknesses of both of them, because of when they were coming into the playoffs. Not so much the vibe. I'll say the narrative around the team was the fact that they were very, very, very good at defense. They were coming in as like a top 3 defensive team. I think they were their defensive rating was second in the league for 2 weeks leading up into the playoffs. That's when they traded Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. Everyone's talking about, the defense will drop, the defense will be trash, and their defense just absolutely soared. But I think that was more so fool's gold than anything else. The main reason why I believe that is because of one, people weren't used. The reason why I believe that is because of one, the defensive scheme that they were running was basically, if you are not known as a shooter, let's just leave them alone. And two, I feel like teams dance. When the end of the year and then everybody just either becomes Michael Jordan or they just stop trying. Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they're able to just inflate the defensive rating so crazy. But that's not the point of this video. We're talking about the Timberwolves. So when the Timberwolves versus the Lakers, the Timberwolves had to learn, okay, we need to figure out how to exploit people's size. And that was the main thing they were doing. People forget how big the Timberwolves are able to run, right? So you have Ants, 6'4", 40-inch vertical. Let's bump that up to a 6'5", since he's a little bit stocky, right? At the 2, they were throwing out Jaden McDaniels, 6'9", extra lengthy guy. They were able to throw out Nas Reed, 6'11". Throw out Julius Randle, 6'9". Throw out Rudy Gobert, 7 foot. One of the better defensive players in NBA history. But that's a whole other conversation. They were able to use their size advantage and actually exploit the Los Angeles Lakers and be consistent in the fact that they have shooters around them. But the main thing that they had to learn from the Los Angeles Lakers was, how can we overwhelm superstars? How can we use our guard depth to defend against bigger wings and guards? They figured that out. Gentlemanly swept them. Pew, pew, pew. Next round, they go against the Golden State Warriors. And honestly, the main thing that they needed to learn out of playing them was, how are we able to defend against a free-flowing offense? Curry gets hurt. So it's honestly, you could scrap that whole series, because without Steph, they lose such a dynamic all-around offensive player that it just, I've always said this about Steph. Anytime he's on the court, he makes people when Steph is on the court, he makes guys that are supposed to be averaging 5 to 9 points, average 15, just based off of the motion that he is creating. If y'all remember with the Golden State Warriors, when Kevin Durant was on their team, they weren't so deadly because Kevin Durant was on their team. They were deadly because they had a guy like Steph Curry right next to a guy like Kevin Durant on their team, right? I remember when the death lineup first started, where they were running Harrison Barnes at the 3, and then out of nowhere they traded Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant. Literally, keep in mind, Harrison Barnes was no slouch. Harrison Barnes was, if I can give you a one-to-one comparison to how good Harrison Barnes was in 2015, 2016, he was as good as Chris Middleton. And they went and said, okay, let's make the superstar version of that player. And then they added that guy onto the team. So you also get the same benefits that Harrison Barnes was getting, but you also get a supernova on offense in Kevin Durant, right? But that's whole other conversation. Let's switch it back to the 2025 Golden State Warriors. So Steph goes out, and then it was forced upon them with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green and Buddy Hield was their nucleus of their team, right? They had a lot of, I don't want to say they had shooters, but the Golden State Warriors are a team that can figure out how to win if you let them. And that was the overarching theme of the series, because of, you start to recognize, why are these games even close in the first place? How are they even able to guard against Anthony Edwards? How are they even able to slow down a guy like Julius Randle when he was just averaging, like, let's say 25 points a game last series, and some way, somehow, they're throwing so many matchups, so many team defensive oriented, they were having so many team defensive oriented tricks that was going on versus them that they were able to slow down a bunch of our players, and it got to the point where games started getting a little close. In my opinion, they're getting a little close. So we had this problem of constantly playing down to these teams. And that's a problem when you actually see teams with superstars. Because keep in mind, Steph wasn't even on the court and we were already we were already playing pretty slow with them, right? So we were able to just turn it on around game like 4 is when I started to realize, okay, we have figured out their whole tricks. We've learned something here. Blow them out next series. And now we get to the Oklahoma City thing. I'm not gonna lie, as a Minnesotan, I hoped and I prayed. I hoped and prayed Denver was able to get rid of that team because of this squad. The Oklahoma City Thunder feels and looks like Minnesota Timberwolves kryptonite. They really do. It looks scary. They genuinely look scary. From the way that they're built, from the way that their role players are set up. Imagine the Warriors and the Lakers and the Celtics went and just put all their teams together. It's actually so crazy. It's so crazy while I'm watching it. Because of, they don't have a height problem. They don't have a big problem. They definitely don't have a guards problem. They don't have a coaching problem. Their system is jam-packed. They're able to play defense, play offense, speed you up, score at different positions, stretch the field, run 5 outs, run super big, and still be able to sprint on every single position just because of how young and fast they are as well. So I was worried. I'm not gonna lie. I was worried. Because of the Timberwolves, I feel like deep down one of their bigger problems, they can play with speed, but they can play in transition, but when it comes to half-court defense, it gets kind of wonky in my opinion. Actually, no. So the way that the Oklahoma City Thunder run their offense, the main point of contention is their superstar, their MVP player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Because what he likes to do, he's this modern day age Kobe Bryant. He was just averaging like 32 points this season, right? 35 and 5. I'm just throwing it off head, right? The way he plays, he sets it up so if it's a one-on-one matchup, there is no one in the league right now that can play him straight up for a couple of reasons. One, he's really good at drawing fouls, even though there's this whole, even with the narrative of he's a foul blading, he likes to hook, he be doing da-da-da-da. When you're watching the game, you recognize he is actually getting hits. Like, he's actually getting fouled a lot. Because if I started to ask myself, how is he going to the free throw line so much? And then you look up how many drives per... You look up how many times he hits the paint off of a drive. And you're like, okay, 20 times per game, he is attacking the rim. Nice. That is more than some teams. Game 1, we get blown out. And people are talking about, all these fouls, they're starting off early, da-da-da-da. And he literally drove the ball more than everybody on the Minnesota Timberwolves together. I mean, yeah, he is going to go to the line, especially if he's also a superstar, right? He's good at the mid-range. Actually, not good. He is all-time at the mid-range. He loves the mid-range. That is his favorite part that's the favorite part. And then what he's more so lacking, he kind of has a 3-point problem, but letting him shoot is not the way to guard it, right? And not only that, he loves to pass the ball. He has the way that they set up their team, they have 2 to 3 lob threats they have three bigs that they're constantly like rotating in, and majority of the time they always have at least one of those guys in. And when you have a guy like Chet, for example, there's always that option of let me just throw it up, because he's like 7'2" and he can just catch everything, dunk it, right? He's probably one of the better lob targets in the game. So you have this guy that he's very good at attacking, he's very good at passing, and he loves shooting mid-ranges. That's kind of hard to scheme against when you have a bunch of shooters. Well, I don't want to say shooters. You have a lot of theoretical shooters, and you have a lot of guys that are willing to push the pace, right? Because of this team is super young, and they just thrive off of transition plays, right? And then alongside that, I want to talk about their bench. Their bench is stacked. The main guys I want to mention right now are the Caruso and Casey Wallace. These two guys are tough. When I watch Caruso, you recognize being a hard-nosed defender, just loving defense will keep you in the league because of the fact that they're able to use him in so many defensive schemes and options. You see how valuable he is in the grand scheme of things. Because of one of the things that they were playing with last series against the Denver Nuggets, they were just putting him against Jokic and said, all right, we're going to guard you with a guy that's literally 6 foot, and then we're going to have a bunch of 7-footers just swarming you. We have a lot of long wings just swarming you and digging at you and doing all that stuff. And he's going to be able to hold you down. I want to talk about the way that they've been officiating recently. So there's been this theme of everybody can do whatever. You could be as aggressive as you want. People are throwing bows out there, right? And if you didn't know, last year they started changing up the rules where they were allowing more physical play, right? Where it's like you can bump extra, you could throw a couple more shoulders, you could do more, especially in the paint, but you can't have any like outlandish throwing elbows and things of that nature. And these players have been using that to their advantage. They have been OD. They have been throwing their bodies on each other. It's actually crazy. The time that I noticed this was when they were facing off, when there was the Detroit Pistons versus when it was the Detroit Pistons versus the New York Knicks. When I tell you, every single play looked like a foul. They were throwing their bodies into everybody. And that has been transitioning towards all the other series, every other series in the league so far. Especially, I didn't mention this earlier, but the Lakers versus the Timberwolves, they were all in their grails. So let's go to this. Let's go to this series. Let's stay here for a bit. You see how readily available physical play is, and it's changing what you can and cannot do. So if the fouls are not blatant, it's really hard to get calls in the series later on, right? In the series as they've been going on, specifically the Oklahoma City and the Timberwolves series. So game 1, they get blown out. The Timberwolves just looked like they weren't ready to play. Ants didn't get as many shots. The only guy that seems to have showed up was Julius Randle. He had like 20 points in the first half. Go to the next series. It's another loss on the Timberwolves. And now we go to game 3. Game 3 is what I call hoops. So the Timberwolves, they knew this game is going to be the most important game of the series, of their season, because if they lose this game, they're losing the rest. It's going to be a sweep. They're going to sweep us at home. They're going to go to the finals, and that'll be it. It'll be a quick 4 game. But no, Finch finally did something. Oh my God, he finally did something, because that was one of my biggest problems with his coaching strategy. So when you're being a coach, you have to figure out, okay, this is my game plan. If they do something, should I counter it, or should I just let it be and just let's play together, let's run our schedule, let's do what we do and just hope it works. Trying to pull who's the guy in the Celtics? Trying to pull trying to pull what the guy on the Celtics is doing with these 3-point shooting, right? Where I don't want to change too much. Because if I change too much, I could be prematurely doing too much and now just throw up our whole system and now I have to figure out a whole new plan of action. But no, he said, you know what? Let's just be more aggressive. We have to pick you up early. So, SGA has this thing where every time he gets off a pick and roll, he goes 1 dribble, 2 dribble, pulls up. Because he's like 6'6". So the way he moves, he could get deep into the paint relatively easily, especially due to his size, right? But instead of playing such a deep drop coverage that they were doing earlier in the series, where SGA was able to just get 1-2 dribble, pull up. J-Dub was gonna get 1-2 dribble, pull up. Instead of doing that, they grab him early and they forced them into trying to make a decision. And it wasn't working. They got punched in the mouth. They truly just got punched in the mouth. So I don't want to say that this was indicative on the way to stop them, but I will say it definitely played a part in their demise, right? Because of what the Timberwolves do, not Timberwolves, what the Oklahoma City Thunder do so well. They force you to sprint. They're just down. Let's go. Fast. Especially on the defensive end. They're crazy. You're creating crazy turnovers, right? You saw it in game 2. There's a play where Julius Randle, he's getting a post up on the wing, and he turns his back, and then Casey Wallace just sprints towards him, gets the steal there the other way, passes to J-Dub. J-Dub throws it off the backboard to check, dunks it. Crazy work. But we were able to do that to them. Rudy Gobert stepped up. He goes, I'm going to play you high. He goes and gets like 2-3 steals. 2 steals off of SGA and a steal off of J-Dub. Crazy plays, right? And now that everybody is pushing the pace and everyone is finally showing how athletic they are, because we match up relatively well with them. And that's why it was very confusing watching Oklahoma City just like throw us in the trash, because it's like they have wings the same way we have wings. They have bench players the way we have bench players. So the fact that we were getting so outplayed off the bench was starting to blow my mind. Jonathan DiVincenzo finally steps up. Nas Reed finally hits some shots. Nickeil Alexander-Walker finally plays like he knows what he's doing. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's not just the fact that everyone was hitting threes. It definitely helped. But it's the fact that everyone was buying in on the sprints. And then when the role players were in the game, they knew, okay, I can't just come in shots because we are playing with momentum, right? And you recognize this off like the I think it was the second play of the game where Ant gets a steal and he gets a tomahawk dunk. Boom. They get another steal. And the game of momentum is the reason why we won, right? Every single play we had was building upon each other. And then when they were trying to cut the lead, every time they were trying to cut the lead, we always came back and showed, okay, we are still here, we're still on your necks. And then we were building such a crazy lead with such momentum that it looked like they gave up. It really looked like they gave up. And y'all know when every single shot the opponent hits feels like 3 extra points is added onto it, and it feels like there's such a weight on your back to try and, you got to score? Well, I'm going to score too. Well, I'm going to do something to get back at y'all to make sure this is like an even keel match. Going into the halftime, we hit a 3, and they're trying to come back. No, we hit a 3, they miss, we miss, and then J-Dub gets the board and he's trying to lift like full speed, fast break, 1-on-5 himself. He gets all the way to the lane. He goes up for a layup and he just shorts arm it. That goes and kills whatever momentum that they were even trying to build in the first place, because they were mounting a pretty small comeback in the second quarter. But his fault on deaf ears. We summon Shannon Jr., right? Terrence Shannon Jr., our rook. He's the 24-year-old rookie. He gets in the game And it's not that he comes in and he was just throwing up threes and he was hitting threes and he was just like feeling himself. No. He gets in the game and he shows that he belongs in the league. First play, he gets it. Jab step, swing through, dribble, big body move, finish, and one. Free throws. Okay, that's good. Goes hits another shot. Goes hits a three. Go gets a steal. Go plays really good defense. Go scores again. And it gets to the point, I think he ends the game with like 15 points. And every single time that he got the ball, he was like, oh, just so y'all know, I'm a pro. I deserve to be here, right? So they, the Oklahoma City's coach goes and says, oh, y'all have a rookie? Well, I'm going to throw mine on rookie. And he does not have the same effect. But hey, we love the effort. We love the game plan. Keep moving. So it gets bad. By the third quarter, the starters sit and ends with 30. Julius Randle, I think he had like 20-some points. That's another thing. It is so rare that Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are actually able to play together and actually feed off of each other, because there's always this lacking when it comes to the both of them. I don't know if it's because they sometimes operate in the same areas or they are both so used to being first options or whatever's going on, but it's rare that they're able to actually work together and it's actually beneficial in the long run. And the fact that they were able to come together and both go off, love to see it. But now that we're entering game 4, this is some of my things that I hope that they're able to do. Now that they're entering game 4, these are a couple things that they have to keep in mind if they want to really change the tide of this game. Because again, this is a winner go home scenario. Because going down 3-1 against the Oklahoma City Thunder is not a favorable setup for us. So the main things that they need to do, they have to make the main thing. They need to get this energy back. They need to keep up with this energy, because keep in mind, we were able to do what they do to teams to us. This is the first time they've ever lost by more than 50 points this season, right? Because if you watch the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Memphis Grizzlies, they were toying with them, blowing them out every single game, just belt to butt. And the fact that we were able to give them their own medicine, I don't think they're going to like that too much, but hey, we have to be aware. We have to keep in mind. We have to... Oh, fuck. So this is what we have to do if we want to be able to change the tide of this series. Because if we go down 3-1 to Oklahoma City Thunder, we will lose this series. Number one, we have to keep the main thing. The energy is what is keeping us in the game. That was what it was. The urgency, the energy. The consistency for everybody buying in, because of everyone was diving for the loose balls, everyone was hustling, everybody knew where they needed to be on defense. Because of as long as we can keep our defense what makes us eat, we will be able to stay in these matchups. We will be able to stay in these games. Because of, I'm not going to say that they had a bad game, where I'm not going to say the Oklahoma City Thunder was just off, because of, if you watch what we were doing on defense, we were a big part of the reason why they were able to run the type of plays and the type of systems that they usually run, right? So we have to be on our P's and Q's when it comes to defensively. And number 2, our role players need to show up and show out just like they did last game. Because the Oklahoma City Thunder have so many quick hitters on the offensive end when it comes off of their bench, that if we do not match them, it will be GG's. But yeah, I hope we're able to do it. Shouts out to the Minnesota Timberwolves.